Throughout our lives, we've experienced the unexplainable, from bright apparitions to dark entities, changing our perspectives on the afterlife. Now we seek answers and intend to capture evidence of paranormal existence. These are our paranormal experiences. It is the 1960s, and the Cold War is at its peak. The 1960s was also a time when the interest in UFOs was at its peak, as there were numerous sightings, stories, and reports from the media about strange flying objects worldwide. Interestingly, while recorded sightings do suggest that this is true, Clark and Roberts argue that the UFO craze in the 60s were in fact a cultural and social phenomenon, encouraged by the scary Cold War and the need to imagine something up in the sky that could rescue them. They do continue and suggest that nations across the world who participated in the ideological struggle used this social phenomenon as a psychological weapon. Whether this is true or not, for Tasmania, UFO sightings only continue to increase from the last decade, while newer and more organised UFO investigation groups began to form and report on these strange sightings. One of the oldest still running UFO investigation groups in Tasmania is UFOic. UFOic stands for the Tasmanian UFO Investigation Centre and was one of Tasmania's earliest organised UFO investigation groups, being founded in October of 1965 by Robert Burge. There were earlier UFO investigation groups in the 1950s, but they no longer exist. Even today, you can still contact UFOic via Facebook or email. In 1960, a man who would later sit on the UFOic committee at its inception, Reverend Lionel Browning, witnessed multiple mysterious objects flying around Cressy. It was about 6 p.m. when Reverend Browning and his wife were standing in the dining room and looking at a nearby rainbow. The rainbow was over some low hills and about 13 kilometres to the east. As they watched the rainbow, Mrs. Browning spotted a long cigar-shaped object which was emerging from a rain squall. According to Roberts, Mr. and Mrs. Browning said that this object was a dull greyish colour, had 4 or 5 vertical dark bands around its circumference and at regular intervals along its length, and what looked like a short aerial array which projected outwards and upwards from the northern facing end. Continuing, the object was about 30 metres long and was well defined against the rain-free hills that were 6 to 7 kilometres away. The object maintained its course and travelled 3 kilometres northward at about 100 kilometres per hour and at an elevation of 120 metres. This UFO suddenly stopped and seemed to join up with 5 to 6 disc-like objects which had emerged from a nearby cloud. The discs surrounded the cigar-shaped UFO, positioning themselves around the cigar at a radius of 800 metres. Within a few seconds, all the objects flew back into the nearby rain squall. Reverend Browning did inquire about the sighting and asked if there were any air traffic in the area. The Launceston Airport confirmed that there were in fact no aircraft around Cressy at that time. After the event, there was a media frenzy as similar sightings were reported over the following weeks. While these reports were questionable, there was one similar sighting that drew attention of UFO investigators. About a month after the Cressy sighting, a United States military aircraft was flying a mission 24 kilometres north of Launceston. During this time, the anonymous captain reported that his navigator had spotted an aircraft approaching their plane. At the time, they were at 40,000 feet, travelling at 350 knots at 340 degrees. The UFO went underneath the left wing and was estimated to be travelling at around 800 knots at 35,000 feet. They saw the UFO for 5 to 7 seconds, and in that time, the captain explained that it looked like a poached egg, was about 70 feet in diameter, and had no sharp edges. When the captain went to bank to see what the object was, the UFO had disappeared. In early 1965, multiple people on the remote southern island of Matsuka began seeing strange lights in the sky. As reported by Roberts, this object was firstly seen by 2 witnesses on the island. They described it as being like a ball-shaped object with a red centre surrounded by a white light. It was also throwing off a luminescent white light as it travelled from east to west. And this wasn't all. As the aircraft approached, it lit up the island as if it was daytime for about 30 to 40 seconds. While the witnesses could not tell if the UFO landed or not, they did find flattened vegetation. While the UFO had made an appearance once again in September and December of '65, nothing substantial would occur until September of 1978 and March of 1979. In 1978, witnesses spotted a strange light that had appeared from over the Needles. After 10 minutes of observing the light, all the power on the island suddenly turned off. However, it came back on after 5 minutes. At this time, a red light appeared within the bright light, which after an hour began to fly away into the distance. Strangely, no cause could be found for the odd blackout. Early in 1979, yet another light appeared near Matsuka Island. This time, 2 lighthouse keepers witnessed an intense bright yellow light in the night sky. Seeing this light, they used binoculars to take a closer look and saw that there was a cigar shape below the intense light. Simultaneously, blue lights was also seen shooting off at great speed to the west of the island, before the cigar-shaped UFO turned into 2 blue lights itself. At this stage, the 2 Thai witnesses gave up watching this strange phenomenon.